All right, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. My name is Simon Peter Gana, and I'm an international education advisor working for the USAID Literacy Project and UNICEF Education in Emergency. At the same time, I'm an online community teacher mentor at www.coursera.com. So, thank you for joining me in this afternoon's webinar. And so we'll be talking about development of a self-paced module for basic education students. Ayan. In a little while, we'll be starting the discussion. And I personally hope you will learn something from this. So stay tuned. We'll start at 2 o'clock. So just have 2 minutes left. Or we start on the dot. All right, 1 minute. All right, so good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar this afternoon, Development of Self-Paced Module for Basic Education Students. And my name is Simon Peter Gana. I'm an international education advisor for USAID Literacy Project and UNICEF Education and Emergency Project, both in Africa. And at the same time, I work as an online community teacher mentor at www.coursera.com. So we all understand that because of the pandemic, there's been a revolutionary change in the educational system here in the Philippines, and that pushes all the school, almost all the schools, to move from traditional classroom discussion, classroom setting to distance learning. And part of the distance learning is the development of learning modules. Now, this afternoon we'll be discussing about self-paced, how to develop or developing self-paced learning modules. And so to start with, when you talk about self-paced learning module, you talk about self-instruction or individualized learning. And this requires responsibility and pacing. And to determine the successful learning output, there has to be specific learning objectives. Now, in lesson planning preparation, we all know that learning objectives are very important. And so in self-paced learning module, these LOs, as we call it, the learning objectives must be clearly stated and must be simple and must be realistically attainable by the learner to ensure that the learning module will come up with successful learning outputs. Okay? All right. Now, what constitutes a high quality self-paced learning module? First, when we talk about learning activities, It has to be carefully designed to address specific objectives, meaning the objectives should be aligned with the activities and vice versa. Pag sinabing yung learning objectives nyo should be connected dun sa activities, and the activities should be connected also with the objectives. Because these two play a hand-in-hand partnership to determine the success of the student who is engaged in the learning process through the module. Second, learners must demonstrate mastery of content. Now, how would you determine the mastery of content? Of course, there has to be assessment and evaluation. Ngayon, sa learning, kasi sa self-paced learning, evaluation and assessment are very crucial because uh, you have to monitor and track down the progress of the student who is engaged in that learning activity. Like what we do in Coursera, pag tinatrack namin yung progress ng students, we use forums and guide questions. We post guide questions in the forums so that they will be able to uh, remind themselves that the the content limitation is only to a certain premise. Yan siya. Para hindi rin malito yung student, para hindi rin malito yung estudyante kung ano yung dapat niyang matutunan on that particular module na binigay. Okay? Learners must receive immediate confirmation of mastery of the objectives. All right. Mastery is very important because you don't come to see your student every day unlike in a traditional classroom setting. Self-paced learning is about individual um, commitment. It's about working alone. So the only way that the teacher can monitor progress is either through a scheduled conference, scheduled discussion online, or posting guide questions through forums. Now, it is important that every time you get interaction with your learners, and the learner has to present a concept, a learning concept that he produced, okay, based on the activities that you have set, then you immediately have to tell the student whether that result is either correct or either needs improvement. It's not necessarily wrong, but there has to be more, meaning there has to be more, it can still be improved. It can still be improved. All right? Yun ang importante doon. Hindi, now, in the learning trend, it's not actually advisable to say directly to the student kung yung product niya ay mali o needs into ay totally mali, but rather transpose that into saying na it still can be improved, pwede pa siyang pagandahin para ma-encourage yung bata, para hindi ma-demotivate yung bata sa pag-aaral niya, especially hindi kayo madalas nakikita uh, at siya and the student is just working at home or elsewhere in the comfort of his place, alone or individually. All right? Now, when the learner has difficulty understanding the material or fails to master the objectives, he or she may ask the instructor for help. All right. This means that the teacher should always have available time to do consultation with the learner, especially kung yung ginagawa ng student needs assessment and evaluation immediately. That is to ensure that the student gets support and guidance from the teacher. Now, in some learning platforms, we have these forum sections where teachers use to post guide questions and reminders. And if you have your similar platform, you can use that to reach out to your learner so that the learner will be on track. You'll be attuned with uh, what the module aims to happen for the learner. Okay? It is very important that even if the student and the teacher are physically apart, there still has to be communication between the teacher and the learner. And that's what makes a high quality self-paced learning module.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are just experiencing some technical difficulties. We will first stop the live stream and we will again be live in a few minutes. Once again, we are just experiencing some technical difficulties. We will be stopping the live streaming, but then we will be back in a short while. Thank you very much.